Now, I think it's pretty safe to say that the future of the Star Wars franchise seems to be quite expansive, not just with their books, novels, comics, and video games, but we also have a lot of their new Star Wars TV shows and movies to look forward to that will be announced at Star Wars Celebration of 2022 next year. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, I am on Twitter if you guys want to go ahead and give me a follow at Mike01. So what's really all the more exciting about everything related to everything that has been happening between the new Star Wars movies, the new Star Wars TV shows, is that a lot of this is being done by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. They're really putting together this new universe with a mixture of animated and live-action projects that's really going to make up this entire new expanded universe. It's going to be heavily inspired from Star Wars Legends. That's one thing to actually really be excited about, is the fact that we have a lot of Legends content, the highlights, I must add, from Star Wars Legends from the 1990s to the 2000s, and exactly how that's going to roll into the Disney canon and how they're really going to regulate that to kind of make it as close as possible and accurate as possible to what was done so many years ago. However, what's really interesting has everything to do with the fact that, of course, we do know that Jon and Dave are providing major retcons for multiple different eras, be it, of course, the sequels, the prequels, the originals. Some retcons might be controversial, some of which may be very much, of a supplement to the Star Wars universe in a positive sense. And I think that all these different changes that are being applied to the overall brand through the use of some of these TV shows, I think it's a good move, especially with, of course, the whole story of Luke Skywalker and how they're kind of throwing that in there and changing up his entire Jedi Academy. We'll get into that a little bit later. But what's really exciting is the fact that they are developing also a lot of other projects that's going to tie into other ones. Now, with that being said, with Jon Favreau already developing the Ahsoka series with Dave Filoni to a great degree, new Star Wars projects are set to be announced at Star Wars Celebration next year that Disney is aiming to make it the best one in years since they, of course, bought Lucasfilm. Currently, of course, Favreau and Filoni are working on a number of both animated and live-action Star Wars projects, one of which is currently labeled as a Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker Sequel project that has been in development since 2020 and is said to begin to go further into development by early next year. Now, The Rise of Skywalker Sequel is set to become a brand new series that will be in animated form, however not like Rebels or Clone Wars, but in a lifelike fashion that is going to dive into the events after Episode 9 and Rey's journey to rebuilding the Jedi Order. Now, though Daisy Ridley is said to be in negotiations on her return as Rey to do the voiceover work and motion capture sequences, Disney's backup plan, if of course Daisy is not able to do this or ends up holding no interest, is that they have plans for actress Keira Knightley to step in to voice the role of Rey. Now, the sequel series is set to also dive directly into the world between worlds, and that Jon Favreau is described to be doing something very special with Ben Solo in the sequel series that is eventually going to tie directly into the new Star Wars films in the future. The world between worlds is said to be treated in a different manner than how the Ahsoka show will deal with this in, of course, exact realm. Now, as Jon Favreau wants to actually explore different areas and secrets about this unknown place, the sequel series is set to also begin production by spring of next year, and that they are planning to drop this sometime at the very end of 2023 to early 24. The sequel series is described to also feature all the fan-favorite characters as Force ghosts, such as Luke, Leia, and Anakin Skywalker, and others, and how this is going to be used as a direct way to keep the Skywalker element alive and well. Now, a new foe that Disney is working on is to introduce in this sequel series is actually said to involve new dark side warriors that have never been seen before, that emerge from a new region of the galaxy that Lucasfilm will also introduce in upcoming comics for the end of next year. Jon Favreau is said to have a plan for Ben Solo to hold a great connection to Rey for his series, and that Favreau also has major plans to bring Ben Solo back to life in an unexpected way for the show with the use of the world between worlds realm, and how this connects to new Star Wars projects down the road. Now, the series is also set to take place on 3 different planets. Of course, Tatooine and 2 brand new ones on the side, that have yet to be seen that will hold ancient ties to the Jedi Order that Rey will explore with others. Lucasfilm is said to also introduce Finn as a Force-sensitive user, along with other new Force users to be highlighted in the series. The lifelike animation by Disney is described to be some form of next-generation technology that the fans are truly going to be surprised by. Now, let me just add one thing here, alright? Now, the thing about this, I know a lot of fans are kind of very, very skeptical about reintroducing sequel trilogy characters, and we talked about this pretty much throughout 2020 about the Rise of Skywalker sequel series on and off. This has been a thing that has been long in development that is now beginning to move further, and it's beginning to actually go into the works fully by early next year. Now, this most likely fits directly in with what Kathleen Kennedy unveiled a couple of days ago, of how they do have plans to explore those sequel characters again. That statement by her could very well have something to do with this. The good news about this is that Kathleen Kennedy is not creatively involved with these particular characters. It's all Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, new creators that Jon and Dave are actually allowing to come on board of Lucasfilm to handle the mandoverse and new different eras that we have yet to have seen. You gotta remember that Jon and Dave recently got a lot of promotions over at Lucasfilm throughout all of this year, and they hold a lot of creative power, not just over the TV shows and the movies, but also over the lore in its entirety. We're talking about the upcoming books, the novels, the comics, how it's all gonna fit into the live-action TV shows and the animated Star Wars projects, etc. So I want to dive more into the world between worlds, because this seems to be almost becoming a common trend now. We already saw it in Star Wars Rebels, we're about to see it again in the Ahsoka Tano series, and we're about to see it further in this Rise of Skywalker Sequel series project. And what they're trying to ultimately do, from what it seems, is that they are tapping into the world between worlds to do unthinkable things for specific fates of characters. Now, we saw what happened with Ahsoka Tano, of how Ezra Bridger really altered what was going to happen to her by Darth Vader. We all witnessed that. We're going to see something very similar in the Ahsoka Tano series. We went over that as well. They're going to do something very big with Ben Solo. That's what Jon Favreau is planning for the animated series. That's going to eventually tie directly into future live-action projects. Now, the thing about this, alright, being able to see and witness the new Jedi Order rising on Tatooine, and that is where the new Jedi Order is going to take place. It's going to take place on Tatooine. We're going to be learning more about this visually in new comics in 2022 by the summer of next year, so keep your eyes open for that. This particular show that they're aiming to drop at the very end of 23 into early 24, I know it's still a bit of a far ways off, but the fact that they are looking at Keira Knightley as a backup to voice the character of Rey if Daisy Ridley can't really make it or doesn't really have any form of interest in doing the voiceover work for Rey. You gotta remember that Keira Knightley was also in episode 1, so it makes a lot of sense as to why they would want to even do that. Plus, she kinda does sound like Daisy Ridley at times. If you listen to her very carefully, she can very well emulate the character of Rey. Now, is this all really necessary at the end of the day? This is the biggest question. Is this show really necessary? Well, I think it's best to actually explore brand new characters, or kind of expand the already well-established characters, like what we're doing now with Kenobi and Boba Fett and Darth Vader, etc. But as long as this is handled well, and if it's written very well and great quality, we already know that Jon and Dave are heavily involved. So I say let's give it a shot in a couple of years, see exactly what this is going to look like. It's not going to be your typical animated Star Wars TV show like Rebels, Clone Wars, or Bad Batch. Not that they're bad shows, but this is going to have a different type of animation. So with that being said, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.